the top 5 most cursed Disney movies.
Yeah.
We'll both go 5-1. Disney's most cursed movies ever.
Yeah. Worst movies, and then I'll start here at number 5. What I have is Calendar Girls. If you don't know what Calendar Girls movie is, it is a Disney movie, and in Disney you usually think about kids movies, right?
Of course.
But the plot of it is these girls in a corporate environment are like, we need to spice up the marketing. So let's have a bunch of they put mature ladies in it, but it's just a bunch of old British ladies. And they're like, let's have them pose nude for a calendar. For a fundraiser for a hospital. And they're like, okay. And then if you look at the poster for this, we can probably add the picture of it in, but it's literally a bunch of 50, maybe 60-year-old ladies just posing naked for a calendar. And you're like, okay.
Ew.
It's a PG-13 movie. It's like, it's popular with the older crowd, but I watched the movie in preparation and it's just weird. You watch one of those movies that has like a plot that's kind of just uncomfortable, and I'm like, why is this a Disney movie? It makes no sense. Look at the poster here. They're like,
What the hell is this?
they're like a half a decade away from a nursing home.
It's like the Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
Insane. That's cursed.
Okay, what's your number 5?
So, have you ever seen the movie like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
Yeah.
You know, like it was big in the 80s, big in the 90s. You know how it is. Well, like a lot of Disney movies, they make sequels that nobody even knows exists. Like the sequel to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Honey, I Blew Up the Kids.
What?
This movie went direct to DVD. Look it up. Honey, I Blew Up the Kids. It's a real Disney-approved green-lit movie that went straight to home video.
Yeah.
And so here are some notable reviews. This one guy says, the kids got shrunk in the first, so let's take the original movie, which was good, and just milk it. Seems like the clowns at Disney were convinced that all you need to get a toddler and have it all big and terrorizing the town. Sucks, says reviewer from 2013.
Damn.
One person says, not even close to the being of the same quality as the original. And then what else do we have here? Even worse than the stupidity of the second movie. How dim can they be? Ouch. Honey, I Blew Up the Kids. Not a fan with the audience, it seems.
Yeah, not a fan with the audience. Yeah, that just sounds like shrinking them is fine, but like
Blowing them
a
up.
giant kid walking through town, Market Basket, Stop and Shop, wherever you shop, like, I don't know if that's like funny, like, to be honest.
No, I would say not.
Yeah, like where's the joke? Like, oh, he's really big. Like, seeing the world from like a small perspective is cool, but just like a giant kid, like,
It's also like lazy.
who cares?
It's also just lazy. Like, oh, we shrunk them in the first movie. Why don't we just blow them up this time?
Yeah.
It's like all these Disney players on Adderall just talking about these dumb plots. What a nightmare.
Yeah, why is Disney like, they approve just so much like
Just garbage. And there's so much more.
sequels. Yeah.
This is just number 5, and these are just 2 examples of god awful Disney movies.
Yeah.
What is your number 4?
My number 4 is Pearl Harbor, because why, if you want to, okay, you make a movie about Pearl Harbor, I get it, but it should not be PG-13. And honestly, if you're going to do a movie about Pearl Harbor, first of all, it should not be directed by Michael Bay. Michael Bay is someone who should not be trying to direct true stories. We saw that with Pain and Gain, how he kind of disrespected those people. And then Pearl Harbor of all movies, and then you have Ben Affleck in it. And they made it 3 hours so we could have a romance with Ben Affleck that nobody cared about. And then you end up making it a snooze fest, and it turns into this giant Hollywood dumpster fire, when a movie about Pearl Harbor is something, when you think about Pearl Harbor and the horrific things that happened that day, should be rated R, and you can still make it 3 hours, but don't pick Michael Bay to direct it. Pick someone like a Christopher Nolan, a Spielberg, someone like Denis Villeneuve, and then show the horrors of what happened that day instead of a glitzy Disney glossed over, watered down Hollywood giant budget action movie.
No,
Like,
can't be done.
yeah, and you made it 3 hours. Like, Pearl Harbor should not be putting people to sleep. And some of the reviews for that time were just this is a formulaic 3-hour opus, seems to go on for an eternity. Pearl Harbor effortlessly self-parodies itself. Although Pearl Harbor will fill Disney's coffers, it will fail to fill your heart adequately and honor these men and women who were in Pearl Harbor. And like, yeah, the problem with it is it doesn't really do the event justice. And now, since they bomb that movie so hard, we'll probably never get a accurate depiction of the horrors that went on that day. We just get a Disney movie.
Just a blown up Disney movie with fucking Michael Bay that nobody asked for from Disney
And Ben Affleck. Like,
and Ben Affleck.
why?
My number 4 is another movie that nobody asked for, a movie that people forget that Disney actually produced. The Super Mario movie. You know the Super Mario movie? Not the one that just came out a couple years ago. The one from the 90s, which is notoriously one of the worst movies ever. You want to look up Super Mario movie? I'll put a picture here to demonstrate just how awful this movie was. Whether it's bad effects, whether it's bad dialogue, whether it's bad actors, or just a terrible representation of the Mario movie. Because for some reason, video game movies blew up in the 90s and everybody had to make a bad movie, including Disney. Some notable reviews from this from Rotten Tomatoes. How do people watch this stuff? It makes me puke watching this movie. It's that kind of movie that makes you never go to the movie theaters. A real life movie of Super Mario's is a mistake, says Daniel Panera. And then Wendy K. Not the worst movie ever, but there has certainly never been any adaptation that hated its own source material more. Not even The Last Airbender tried that hard to violate their fans with this amount of vitriol, said Wendy K. Ouch. Not the kindest of words for the Super Mario Bros.
Yeah, and honestly, the biggest problem I have with that movie is, why is it live action? I hate, like, you take an animated game or you take some cool characters like this when you don't have the technology to, I don't know, just look up the picture of Bowser. Look at how horrifying John Leguizamo looks dressed up as Mario. Like, it's one of those ridiculous movies. Like, this should never have been a live action movie to begin with, because it looks absolutely stupid and it looks ridiculous. The costume designs are abysmal as well. And what this movie reminds me of is, the original picture of Sonic, and
Yep.
everyone was like, what the fuck is that? That's not Sonic.
Yep.
That's the entire movie. Like, why is this live action? Like, the Sonic movie, like, was live action and he's animated. It, like, wasn't as bad, but like, you watch the animated Mario movie and you're like, oh, it looks like they actually try and replicate some of the gameplay. Maybe like it's kind of a cookie cutter plot, but it's made for kids. So you're like, oh, that movie was enjoyable. This movie, it's like a live action movie that
Just a
looks
nightmare.
like Galaxy Quest.
It's just a nightmare, too.
Yeah, it's like, honestly, like, yeah, a lot of people have said it's nightmare fuel for their dreams. It's terrifying.
It's god awful. So that's my number 4 most cursed Disney movie. What is your number 4?
My number 3 is That Darn Cat. Because if you didn't like the original one from 1965, you'll definitely like the remake from 1997, I believe, is when it came out. But yeah, people who watched That Darn Cat say this Disney remake was terrible. The rest of the cast did a horrible job in this movie. The plot of this movie was tedious, pathetic, and peculiar. It's about trying to solve a crime in a goofy, unexpected way. If you haven't seen this movie yet, don't waste your time. Not worth it.
Ouch.
Or they also say, with one or two decent jokes, this movie was unfunny, predictable, overall a total mess. Stilted acting, stupid jokes,
Oof.
and a poor plot make That Darn Cat, even without the face of comparison to the 1960s comedy. This version is a remake of one of Disney's worst live action family comedies in a long line of 90s misfires from the House of the Mouse.
Oof.
Yeah, people did not like That Darn Cat, and I don't know why you needed to remake this in 1997. Looks like no one wanted this movie. It's only an hour and a half, and it's another live action movie about a cat or a pet. It's about solving a crime, but like it's just another one of those Disney's movies where it's like, just let the original property die. We don't need to remake everything like all their animated movies that they remake that are just a copy and paste of the original movie without any of the heart, innovation, or humor.
Yeah,
They lost their edge.
they lost their edge.
A remake, like, it was from 1965. Let it
Just
die.
let it go. That was not a good era of Disney. Well, my number 3 is a movie that I also did not existed before this segment began. Spaced Invaders. You don't know what Spaced Invader is? It's a 1990 Disney movie that the plot of it, according to Google, believing we're supposed to invade Earth, goofy little green Martians land in Illinois on Halloween.
Spooky.
And I'll put some pictures above that show what this movie is all about. But just on my interaction, super cursed graphics, super cursed design, everything here. And what do the fans think? 'Cause ultimately, they're the ones who matter. One of the Martians has never been to Earth before, but he has a flight jacket, aviators, a Lakers hoodie, and talks like Jack Nicholson. What's the deal with the kid dressed like a duck?
What?
I don't
What
know.
is the deal with the kid dressed like a duck?
And then let's see. I know there's another one here that I found amusing here. It was pretty awful, which made it pretty good until the end with all the poo. All right, no spoilers here. This movie is just painful to my eyes. Ouch. Okay, yeah, not a big fan. Rotten Tomatoes gives this an 8%. So if you like really, really, really bad movies, Spaced Invaders, number 3 on the most cursed Disney movies ever.
Yeah, number 3 on the most cursed Disney movies ever. Kind of interested to see it just because of the guy who talks like Jack Nicholson. And why is there a kid dressed like a duck? I need to know.
And what's the poo about?
Yeah, what is the poo about?
Yeah.
But yeah, I have at number 2 for my list. I have The Pacifier, which is a live action movie with Vin Diesel. It's kind of just the classic fish out of water storyline where he is a Navy SEAL who is assigned to protect this family. Then it turns out their dad is the villain, but it
Oh,
it's kind of
spoiler.
just a lot of cheap jokes. Like they try and do like a nipple crippler thing where Navy SEAL tries to fight the wrestling coach at one point and they just start grabbing each other's nipples. So if you're into that, you may like this movie. Some of the reviews say at one point Diesel literally wades into a rancid sewer and emerges covered in feces. Imagine an image that sadly doubles as a metaphor for his career.
Oof.
I mean, if you think about all the Fast and Furious movies, like probably, and then Vin Diesel's probably one of his only good movies is probably Riddick, and it's just him like kind of mumbling through the whole movie. And then another review says this film doesn't succeed on any level. I would call this movie cookie cutter, but that would be insulting to people that make cookie cutters. And it's just one of those movies you watch when you're a kid and then you rewatch it as an adult and you're like, how was this ever made or approved? It's like Disney doesn't read some of their scripts sometimes. They're just like, oh yeah, that's fine. We don't need to change anything there. Stamp.
And ultimately, The Pacifier, a movie that I have seen, Vin Diesel as a babysitter. Number 2 for me, if you aren't interested in Vin Diesel as a babysitter, maybe this next one will be of interest to you. Tim Allen. You know Tim Allen from, whether it was Home Improvement or you know him as Santa Claus. How about him as a DA agent who turns into a dog? How do you like that? Yeah, so turning into a Shaggy Dog from 2006, which was a series with Disney back in the 50s, also named Shaggy Dog, where a rebel teenager turns into a dog, but in this case, it's just Tim Allen.
A rebel DA. Oh
So,
no.
so if you like Tim Allen acting like a dog but as a lawyer, this is the movie for you. Unfortunately, Rotten Tomatoes and fans alike were not a big fan of this movie, just for some reason. Here are some notable comments. Steven C says, "Fuck this shit."
Really?
Ouch, Steven. Yeah,
Steven.
say it louder. Notable ones. Let's see here. I don't know what's worse, the nightmarish poster or Downey Jr. acting like a dog. Wrong actor, but good idea.
Downey Jr. This
Damn
guy's a casual.
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 Downey Jr. What is he going to say next? And then let's see. Not funny, Tim Allen. Go back to Santa Claus, says the 5-star review by Mikey J. Not some great stuff. The most absurd thing about this movie is that Akon did a song for it. The 2006 remake of the 1959 Shaggy Dog is very bad, but thanks to some lazy writing and humor, none of these jokes land, while the plot, while I praise them for changing the original, is so lame.
Yeah.
2 stars, says the guy.